Well, howdy folks, Kdog'S here. It's time for another movie of the week. I hope you had a wonderful Easter, spending time with your loved ones, celebrating the true meaning of Easter, which is, Christ's resurrection, the day he came back to life, and that he, revealed who he really is. Now, that being said, back to the entertainment, we got the importance out of the way. Back to the entertainment factor is that today, for this movie of the week, I want to do two movies because these movies kind of tie in to this holiday. And it's actually two holidays in one, so we want to keep in mind. We're going to be talking about two films starring one actor. Some of you may know where I'm going with this. Two films starring one actor about two different stories. Then one is actually from the Bible. The other one is based on the Bible. So, what am I talking about? How about Ben-Hur and the Ten Commandments? I never talked about these films on a movie of the week, especially the Ten Commandments. I did an unboxing video of the big ultimate gift set, but I never really talked about the movie. So yeah, let's talk about Ben-Hur.
Ben-Hur, winner of the British Oscar, the New York Film Critics Award, and the Foreign Press Association Golden Globe as Best Picture of the Year. Ben-Hur has been named Best Picture by newspaper and magazine critics in every city in the world in which it has played, including the New York Times, the Boston Daily Record, the Philadelphia Inquirer, the Chicago Daily Tribune, the Los Angeles Examiner, the London Daily Telegraph, and Time magazine.
Judah, let me explain something to you. The Emperor is watching us. This is my great opportunity, Judah, and yours too. The Emperor is watching us, judging us. All I need do is serve him.
You speak as if he were God.
He is God, the only God. He is power, real power on earth. There is only one reality in the world today. Look to the west, Judah. Don't be a fool. Look to Rome.
Rome is an affront to God. Rome is strangling my people and my country, the whole earth. The day Rome falls, there will be a shout of freedom such as the world has never heard before.
Ben-Hur, winner of 11 Academy Awards. I believe it was released in 1959. Originally released by MGM, and of course it was at a time when the movies were getting desperate and they were looking for product to get into the movie theaters because they were losing to television. But the story of Ben-Hur is a fictitious story. It's based on a book by General Lew Wallace, who was a former Indiana governor. And the story is about two men, a Roman man and a Jewish man. Jewish man being Judah Ben-Hur, he's a Judean prince. He has all kinds of fame and royalty in Judea, and this is at a time when the Romans are moving in, and they have taken over Jerusalem, and of course he has made friends with a Roman boy by the name of Messala, and Messala is true Roman, and he's there to persuade Judah Ben-Hur to sway the people to surrender to Roman law. And of course, Judah, being a devout Jew and faithful to God, he says, if that's the case, we're enemies now. We're no longer friends, we're enemies. And so it ends up a pure accident allows Judah to be placed into, allows him to be jailed and imprisoned, and his family taken away and locked as well. But they develop the disease. Can't think of the name of it. I can't think of the stupid thing. What is it? What is it? Leprosy. Leprosy. There it is. I knew what it was. I just couldn't think of it. They developed leprosy, and of course they cast themselves away. And while all this is going on, there's a little bit of movement starting. There's a little bit that the Romans are becoming more and more upset about, rather than the Jews. There's also another rebellion starting up. One that's really not causing any trouble. To them, it's causing trouble. But they're really not being violent. About this man who claims to be the Son of God. Uses the names like Son of Man. And, of course, in the film, it does take place around the life of Jesus Christ. Matter of fact, the full title of the story is called Ben-Hur, A Tale of the Christ. And you really dig down deep, it's really not about Christ. It's between Judah Ben-Hur and Messala. So, and of course, there's this big chariot race, and there's the death of Messala and all that. And of course, Judah feels guilty about what he has done by the end of the film, but he witnesses Christ being taken on, crucified on the cross, and then he believes that Christ is who he says he is, that he is the Messiah, that he is the Son of God. And his family is completely healed. He is restored. And he, of course, believes that this man is who he says he was. But the thing is that you don't see Christ's face. You don't see the actor who plays him. You see the back of his head. You see the back of his hand. You just see him come at, just make movements. But you never see the face. And if there is a face the shot where he's facing camera, it's from far away, and you cannot distinguish what the face looks like. And you know, it's a huge epic movie. It's one of the most beloved biblical epics of the time. And, you know, there's really three that you could really point out and say that they were the true biblical epics. You know, first being the robe, then the Ten Commandments, then Ben-Hur. Ben-Hur ended up being the more critically successful. You know, it won 11 Academy Awards, which no one was able to top until Titanic, and then the Lord of the Rings: Return of the King came and did a three-way tie with, you know, that's the most that any movie has won for an Academy Award. But yeah, of course, the only Blu-ray version I have is in this double pack with the Ten Commandments, and you know, that's a great double bill. I just don't recommend that you watch them back to back because that's a really long time. Both movies are over 3.5 hours. Special features on the Blu-ray is a commentary by film historian T. Gene Hatcher, and there's also a commentary track by Charlton Heston. And there's also a music-only track with Miklos Rocha, his award-winning score, and of course theatrical trailers. Yeah, Charlton Heston won the Best Actor for this Academy Award for this movie. He didn't win for the Ten Commandments, unfortunately. But, matter of fact, let's just move on to the Ten Commandments.
There was a time when the cinema was a place of spectacle and wonder, when unforgettable films played on gigantic screens that overwhelmed the imagination. Now that time has come again.
Behold his mighty hands!
Paramount Pictures proudly presents Cecil B. DeMille's The Ten Commandments.
Let my people go. Come to me no more, Moses, for you will surely die. So let it be written.
Death to the slaves!
The Ten Commandments, newly restored and presented in 70mm Super VistaVision with 6-track Dolby stereo sound.
Who shall withstand the power of God?
Relive the magic of an unforgettable motion picture event. The Ten Commandments.
Now, for the Ten Commandments, this is probably one of the most popular biblical epics. Like I said, there's 3 that you could really name off. You know, the robe, the Ten Commandments, and Ben-Hur. Well, this one is probably more successful out of all those 3. This is the movie that is still being played on television. As a matter of fact, if you're watching television on Easter Sunday, you're watching AD, which just took place tonight, and of course, there was the Ten Commandments. Ten Commandments was being played on ABC. Of course, the reason why they play it is because Jewish Passover is also occurring around this time. Christ was crucified on the Passover. So that's why the 2 events go together. And now Ben-Hur, the Ten Commandments is one of my favorite movies of all time. It's E.T. is my most favorite. Ten Commandments is number 2. And the reason why it's one of my favorite movies is because it drew me in terms of telling a story, telling a great story. Even though if you were to read the actual Bible, what it had to say about Moses, and the whole story is, Cecil B. DeMille, he's not 100%. He had, and in fact, he's very open about that at the beginning of the film. However, if you watch the TV version, they cut out that intro. But if you get the Blu-ray or the DVD edition, you will see Cecil B. DeMille's opening monologue before the film begins, and he explains that it's not a completely faithful story. We had to fill in the gaps, so to speak, because the Bible didn't tell everything. But it's one of my favorite movies, and of course it tells the story of Moses, how he was found in the bulrushes and raised by Pharaoh's daughter in the very house that condemned him to death, because there was a decree from Pharaoh that all the newborn Hebrew all the newborn baby Jews, male Jews, were to be killed. And because there was a threat of a deliverer come to deliver them from their bondage, and so they knew it was going to be a Jew. And so Pharaoh had all the baby boys killed. And of course, fast forwards to when Moses grows up, he becomes Prince of Egypt, and he's raised in the court, and of course he's now a candidate for Pharaoh's throne when Pharaoh dies. Well, that's all suddenly put to a stop because somebody reveals a secret that Moses is not Egyptian. He's a Jew. And so when that is revealed, Moses' path takes a completely left turn. Now, also, that leads him to discover who he really is. He discovers that he is Jewish, and he ends up leaving Egypt to become a shepherd. And then he finds God. God reveals, God shows him through a burning bush, tells him what he's to do, that he's to go back into Egypt and to release his people. And of course Moses goes, and Pharaoh says no, and on come the plagues, and then finally, to make a long story short, all these plagues causes Pharaoh to give in and say, okay, you people can go, I release you. But that's not enough. Then he comes back and tries to lead them back, and then Pharaoh's chariots destroyed in the parting of the Red Sea. And then from then Moses leads the Jews into the Holy Land, to where they would receive his law, and which is the Ten Commandments, and God writes the Ten Commandments. And it's very epic on how the story was told. You won't see films like it again, even though they just tried to retell that story. It didn't turn out so well. I think I'm going to do a movie we're going to debate which is better, the Ten Commandments and Exodus, Gods and Kings, in a later video. But yeah, that's the whole thing on the Ten Commandments. I really enjoy the Ten Commandments more than I do Ben-Hur. Yeah, you could look at some of the cheesiness and the makeup effects on the Ten Commandments, but you look at it and the effects still hold up today. Even though they're all optically done, using miniatures and backwards photography and paintings and things like that, it still holds together. It still holds together as a great movie. And there's a reason why people want to see that film every year. They want to see that played on television. So yeah, those are the movies of the week. Ben-Hur and the Ten Commandments. But now, I want to get into something here. You know, I am a bit of a fanatic. You know, I do kind of collect things. But also, not only do I have the Ben-Hur and the Ten Commandments in this 2-pack here on Blu-ray, and of course it's individual discs. Warner Brothers was nice enough to make them put into different edition, you know, put both titles in one case. There's Ben-Hur Part 1, Ben-Hur Part 2, the Ten Commandments Part 1, and the Ten Commandments Part 2. Of course, both movies have both parts split in half on both discs, just to preserve quality. But yeah, I have that. Now, in terms of Ben-Hur, I have the old Warner home video DVD case, which it's not deprived of bonus features. It does have the commentary by Charlton Heston, and I believe it also has the score track. I'm not sure. No, it doesn't. But it does have the Charlton Heston commentary track. Now, the reason why I keep this is because there's a fantastic documentary that was produced by, I believe, Turner Network Television called Ben-Hur: The Making of an Epic. And it's, of course, it's a flipper disc, so you have Part 1 on one side, Part 2 on the other side. That is the movie, and on the other side there is the documentary, which is about 90 minutes, I believe about 90 minutes. It doesn't say the time, but yeah, it's about a 90-minute documentary all about the making of Ben-Hur. So yeah, I do have that. Now, in terms of the Ten Commandments, this shows how much of a fanatic I am of the Ten Commandments. I have the Ten Commandments on DVD in this first Paramount 2-disc set. Again, Part 1 on disc 1, Part 2 on disc 2, and there's no features. It just has the trailer. It has 3 different trailers. It has the original theatrical trailer, it has the 1966 reissue, and the 1989 restoration trailer. So yeah, there's that. And yeah, and then I have it over here. I found at Goodwill one of the earlier copies of the Ten Commandments on VHS, and this was released in 1988, just before they did the 1989 restoration. And this was the first time Ten Commandments was ever released on home video. As a matter of fact, look at the old Paramount logo on the videotapes. Back when it was still a Gulf and Western company. But yeah, kind of nice retro stuff there. And last but not least, I have this, the box set. This, of course, is the Warner Home Video edition, but it's still got the same swag that the other one had. Of course, I'll put a description down below in the description, a link to my other video where I reveal what's in this. And it's, not only do I own it on Blu-ray twice, I own it on DVD twice. And of course it has the original 1923 silent version that Cecil B. DeMille did, that established him in Hollywood. So there you go. There's the Easter edition of the movie of the week. Don't know what. I think I'm going to talk about the difference between the Ten Commandments and Exodus and Gods and Kings, and we'll probably get into the little bit more biblical discussion on what actually happened. So, from me to you, see you later.